Alright guys, today we're gonna talk about every drum. Yay! Wait. Yeah, I gotta clean up this mess real quick. Alright, now we're ready. We're gonna talk about every drum and drumming, of course. So, what should I tell you, huh? What should I tell you about drums? So, this is the snare drum. Basically it's the main drum in drums. It's the backbeat. It is the main drum. Then we got the biggest drum. It's the thick drum. Bass drum. It's called bass drum or kick drum. A lot of people call it kick drum. A lot of people call it bass drum. I prefer bass drum because it sounds cooler and bass is cool. I like bass. Okay, so these are the toms, and they really don't have a proper name for them. Some people call them tom 1, tom 2. Some people call this the rack tom, and this just the tom, and then this has an actual name. This has a floor. This is a floor tom. So, every name of every drum: snare, rack tom, tom 1, whatever you want to call it, tom 2, or just tom, and floor tom. You got the ride, which is really it can be used like the hi-hat, but it's very different from the hi-hat. I'm gonna give you more information on that. Also, wait 1 second. Okay, there's the crash, which is used for basically when you do a fill, you just boom, you crash it and it sounds good. Also, it's good for rock and metal. You just use the crash as the hi-hat. So, like, you get it. Alright, so, hi-hat, of course, hi-hat. It has a pedal. You can do this. So, when you're playing it, the main way it is supposed to be is pressing down on it with your left foot or right foot if you're left-handed. Actually, yeah, so if you're left-handed, it's tricky. You can have the traditional way and just play like opposite hands, but same feet, or you can have it fully twisted. So you can have literally the toms here and the ride, and wait, you can have the toms here and the ride here. You can have it all twisted so that you're perfectly left-handed. So, hi-hat, you smash it down with your foot. Not too hard, because if you do it too hard, it's going to be a choked sound. You have to do it until it closes, but don't press on it that much. Leave it a little bit. So, and it gives you a sound. Then, if you're playing rock, you're going to have to open it a bit. Some metal players don't even press on it. They just leave it. And also, when you're playing the ride, it is very much recommended to keep the beat with your hi-hat. Not only when you're playing the ride, when you're doing fills or anything other than playing the hi-hat, you have to keep the beat with the hi-hat. With your foot, you have to keep the beat. Alright, so as you can see, I changed angles. Yeah. Yeah. Alright, so what I wanted to tell you is there's one thing, and not only one thing, there's a lot of unnecessary stuff that a lot of drummers put onto the drum set. For example, the cowbell, which I have, it really gives you a good sound. Let me show you. It's weird, but yeah, it's something that is used for Afro-Cuban stuff, you know, Latin stuff. It's a weird instrument, but it does sound cool. All right. Also, there's a lot of drummers who use like hundreds of toms. That is not necessary. Don't If you have that, it doesn't mean that you're a good drummer. A lot of people think that the more drums the better you are. No, that's so stupid. You can play on literally hi-hat, snare, and bass drum, and you can be better than some people on hundreds of drums. I'm serious. All right, so now we're gonna so now I'm gonna tell you which drum and which cymbal is used for for, yeah. So what drum is used for what? Snare drum. It's the backbeat, and it is used to give you the backbeat. So I'm gonna show you. I'm holding my phone with one hand, so I can't play with two hands. So when you're playing a beat, right? So the snare drum, as you can see, it was the beat. It was the backbeat. It gave you, it's like the thing that makes you dance. If it's combined with the bass drum, of course. What the bass drum does most of the time is basically playing what the bass guitar is playing, but it just simplifies it. It literally simplifies what the bass guitar is playing, and if it's of course an easy bass line, then you don't have to simplify it. Sometimes you don't even have to simplify it if it's a hard bass line. You can just do it if you're good at bass, of course. If you can go fast with that foot. You get what I mean? Alright. So yeah. Now we're gonna talk about hi-hat. As you already noticed, the hi-hat always plays, basically it keeps you on track of the beat. It makes you know what the beat is and kind of feel everything. Same thing with the ride. You can play, wait, let me switch hands. You can play with the ride the same thing that the hi-hat plays if you're playing simple things. So, for example, that wasn't that good. Everything I'm playing with one stick, so don't judge me from what I'm playing. I'm gonna show you how I actually play with two sticks later. Alright. So, yes, you can use that, as you can play whatever you play on the hi-hat with the ride. However, there's a lot of things you can do on the ride. So, first thing, different positions, different sounds. Second thing, this gives you a different sound, and the way you play, you can play with your tip, you can play like this, like this, like this. It's all different sounds. So it's very different from the hi-hat. On the hi-hat, though, if you play here with the tip, different sound than here, 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 here. If you play this, it's more like a rock thing. You just chop it in like this. And that's why I have, the color of the stick, got off. Because I play like this sometimes. The way to do it is basically go. When you accent, you do this. But when you don't accent, you just do this. Also, another thing the hi-hat has is this thing, like the ride. A lot of drummers don't use it, but I sometimes use it. When you open, you can do this. That is a pretty cool sound. Also, you can use it open like this. Also, what it's open for is when you're playing something like this, you can do this. Alright. So now we're going to talk about the toms. So the rack tom, this tom, and the floor tom. They are mainly used for fills. Fills are something that you do to, fill up your, your space. So not, I explained it the wrong way. Okay, so basically you play a beat. And then when you play a beat, to give the band and the people a feel that, next measure is coming, you do a fill, and they feel it, and they feel good, and boom, boom, they dance. So the groove makes people dance, but then the fill kind of refreshes it, and then the groove goes back from the fill, and then it feels good. You get what I mean? Yes, so the fill kind of refreshes your groove and your beat. I'm gonna show you what a fill looks like, but I have to reverse my camera. Right, so I'm gonna show you what a fill looks like, sounds like. You don't see the drums, you only see the snare. All right, I'm gonna play a simple beat, not that simple, because I don't like simple beats. And then I'm gonna play a fill for you on the toms and on the snare. The snare can be used for fills too, so you can do toms and use the snare, and then you can add the bass drum in there. You can add every single drum for fills, but the main drums for fills are the toms. So I'm gonna show you. Sometimes these kind of long fills are good, but most of the time you should make them short. So this way. So these are the more good fills. But in some cases you have to go long fills and fast fills. It depends on the style of music. As I said, rock doesn't even have fills. I mean, when it has fills, why do I say fills? Okay, fills. When rock has fills, they're not fast and they're not beautiful. They're like heavy. It's like, as you can see by my face, that was very intense. So, yeah. Alright, so rock fills, they're heavy, but they're not that fast. Jazz fills, they're kind of swing, they're boom, 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 boom. You get what I mean? You don't get what I mean, so I'm gonna show you. Jazz, my friends, and also the ride is the main part of the jazz. It's like the swing. That's what the ride is used for, very common. The bass drum is always what the bass is playing, so it's pretty simple. It's not always like that, but in most cases, it is like that. So yeah. Crash, as you can see, at the end of every fill, I put the crash. Because if you don't crash at the end of every fill, you can do that, of course. You can do anything on the drums. I'm just talking about the traditional ways. If you don't crash at the end, this is what the fill is gonna sound like. It's not gonna be like, boom, refreshing, new, good beat. It's gonna sound pretty boring. So I'll show you that. Not the same beat, because I improvise, I don't remember my beats, my fills. But I'm gonna show you a fill with a crash at the end. But I'm gonna use the ride as the groove just so you get a better understanding of ride, because I always use the hi-hat as the groove. So yeah. Sound, I mean, that it makes you feel good. So now I'm going to talk about this part of the ride that I talked about. This is very good for fast grooves and styles like funk. It is very good for styles like funk and fast grooves overall. So So, also, what I usually do, not usually, but a lot of times do, is I use the ride as a crash cymbal, because they sound pretty similar. Look at this. This is the crash. This is the ride. However, the actual sound of the ride is, you heard it. To make it a crash sounding, I'm gonna show you something. You gotta hit it like this. Like, you gotta cut your stick into it. Then it's a crash sound. With the crash, same thing. If you do it like this, it's not gonna sound that much. It's like a crash. You gotta cut your stick. Then it's a crash. Alright. So, sorry for this bad quality video. Alright, so I covered every drum. And yeah, haha! Check out my Instagram. And DM me if you want online lessons, because I'm going to give online lessons to anyone who wants to learn drums. So DM me on Instagram if you want more information on that. Bye.